On May 5th, 1945, the Netherlands was liberated. On May 7th, a large crowd gathers here because the west of the Netherlands, here in Amsterdam, was still in German occupation. But then, shots are fired, people fall to the ground. What's going on here? It's a shooting on Dam Square. In the Netherlands, we celebrate Liberation Day on the 5th of May, because then, in the year of 1945, the Germans signed the unconditional surrender in the Dutch city of Wageningen. Do note here that at this moment, the western part of the country was still under German occupation. On the 7th of May, a Canadian reconnaissance unit of the Polar Bear made its way into the city. They are greeted by a jubilous crowd. Now, also, a truck of Germans passes by, and there is tension in the air. However, nothing happens. The Canadians are aware of the tension, so they pull out of the city, planning to come back with reinforcements. Also, the Germans disappear. At that moment, the Dutch domestic forces, the Binnenlandse Strijdkrachten, which was a cooperation of Dutch armed resistance members that was established in September 1944 to help with the liberation of the country, they started to disarm the Germans, the SS, the SD, the Green Police, and this was against the agreement because this had to be done by the Canadians. And also, this disarmament happened with quite a lot of force. One German soldier who refused to hand over its arms, behind the pallets you see there, was shot and killed by the members of the Dutch resistance. Also, Dutch collaborators were rounded up, and Dutch girls and women that slept with German soldiers were publicly humiliated and shaved bald. At 1500 hours, the crowd on Dam Square grew larger and larger. Now, in the building you see right there, called the Grote Club, German soldiers of the War Navy, the Kriegsmarine, were stationed, and they grew nervous. They, at some point, opened fire with their M34 machine guns on the crowd. What triggered these men to do so, we might never know. Was it out of frustration? Was it out of fear because one of their comrades had been shot and killed by the armed resistance? At the moment when they opened fire, the members of the Dutch armed resistance immediately returned fire, and as the crowd dispersed, people run into all different directions towards the Damrak, towards Rokin. People were caught in the crossfire and fell to the ground and died. People tried to take cover behind street lanterns and behind a barrel organ. That day, around 30 people were killed and 100 were wounded. Now, one person who saw it all happen was Adrianus, or Arie van Steen, and he was my grandfather. He was here on this very spot, on this very day, with his bicycle when the shooting took place. He ran away, but he had to drop his bicycle. He took shelter with some other people behind a smashed shop window to stay away from the German bullets. His bike was still there. He wanted to pick it up. The people in the shop told him and urged him to stay put, but he went for it anyway. He picked up his bike and ran off. The pedal was bent because people had fallen over his bicycle. So he went to a bicycle repair shop, and when he was there, a woman walked in. She raised her arm, and a piece of her arm was missing. A bullet had ripped the flesh right off. My grandfather passed away in April 2018, and I never got to ask him which street he actually ran into. Could have been that street, perhaps it was that street. I do not know. What I do know is that this story as a child fascinated me a great deal, and it was because of my grandfather that I find the passion to speak about history to other people, to teach other people about history, to study history, to become a history teacher, and eventually make videos about history. And that's thanks to my grandfather. And think of this, if my grandfather was shot and killed that day, I would never stand here tell you about this story. Thanks for watching.